Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast where we talk about all things relationships, whether that's marriage, whether that's kids, whether that's mother, daughter, father, son, friendships, son, mother, daughter, father, all of the things. For those of you who are watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined, as always, by my beautiful wife.
Hi, guys. I'm Tanya Coleman.
Yep. And so today is Valentine's Day.
Yes. It's the day
It's a Valentine's Day. Yes. Love Day.
I was trying to think of a song, but I can't. It escaped me.
Still, come on.
A Valentine's Day song.
Valentine's Day song?
It's any love song, right?
Yeah, any love song.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
You know, it's I just want to say one thing though. It's like, you know, I love Valentine's Day. I love, you know, it's a day where we get to express, you know, our love for our significant other. But, you know, I want to challenge you, you know, don't let it just be Valentine's Day.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's one of the qualms, if I had one, with Valentine's Day is, and by the way, I'm trying to say it right, it's Valentine's Day.
Valentine's.
I don't think I knew that. You know, people say I was this, how many years old?
I was today this many years old.
But it wasn't today years old. I mean, I figured it out. I want to say, I guess somewhere in high school, I guess. You know, I don't know.
Because people say times.
Yeah, I always thought it was times. Day. And I knew how it was spelled.
Correct.
But I still would say Valentine's.
Right.
Anyway.
It's cultural.
Anyway.
Your qualms about Valentine's.
It's like, so on this one, and it it just makes me laugh how, you know, people will just go all out on Valentine's Day. And I will spend all this money and I love you. But for the rest of the year, it's like nothing. You know, there's no type of appreciation. There's no thank yous. There's no show
birthday,
of support.
Christmas,
yeah, but
those big days. And I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, but still, you know, you're in this tumultuous relationship,
right?
That's you know, and then all of a sudden on Valentine's Day, you know, it's candlelit dinners and all of this, and it's like, okay, cool, let's do that, but also let's work on our relationship so that way we can experience Valentine's Day every day.
Yes,
you know, so. That's my encouragement to you today. I mean, hey, go all out. You know, I mean, I'm all about going all out, you know, go all out. But at the same time, don't let it just be a once a year thing. Don't just be romantic today. Be romantic every day.
Yeah.
You know, so that's all I got to say about that.
That's all you have to say. Well, that was a great intro to today's discussion. That's it fell in line with the discussion that I wanted to have today.
Okay.
When we were talking about what we wanted to share in today's podcast, I said, you know what? One of the posts that we put up earlier this week, I think was a really befitting post. And the post was basically saying, you know, how are you honoring the vows that you made to your spouse today? So on a regular day, I think the post went up Wednesday, maybe. So on a regular Wednesday, you know, how are you honoring the vow that you made to your spouse? You know, and I think that that's so fitting when we're talking about celebrating love on Valentine's Day. You know, I completely agree with you. And I think you and I have always been on the same page with this, that, you know, it's a great opportunity to celebrate love and to share, you know, to receive gifts or, you know, a nice dinner or what have you. But these are things that we should be doing often.
Yeah.
You know, that when for those of you who are watching who are married, or if you're engaged or you're considering being married, when you make this commitment to this person, you know, it is for a lifetime. You know, I was in a conversation with a couple the other day, and I asked them the question. I said, you know, after a whole lot of conversation, I asked them the question, you know, what is marriage to you? Is marriage a contract, or is it a covenant? And that's something that we've talked about here before. And so when we are in a covenant keeping marriage, we have to keep our vows at the forefront, and I have to, I always keep my heart is always toward you, and I've always, one of the things I often say is that I choose to honor my husband, on a daily basis. Now, what that looks like practically, it takes some intentionality to make it happen.
Definitely.
So we had three things that we wanted to discuss in this segment, just some tips or tricks.
Yeah, there you go.
Tips or tricks that we wanted to offer you guys, and how you can honor your spouse on your vow to your spouse on a daily basis.
Well, but before we go there, I want to just say this too. We have to understand what we're saying when we take a vow.
Absolutely.
And I think that if more people really took the time to understand what that means to make a commitment. That word commitment now, it doesn't mean a whole lot, in our society, because, things are so, just our lifestyles, like my dad, worked for the same company for 30 plus years.
Wow.
30 plus years. They lived, my mom and my dad, we've only moved one time,
and it was literally up the street.
But drove the same vehicle, paid the vehicles off and just drove the same vehicles. My point is that in times past, people were really committed to things, not just each other, but you know what I'm saying? It was just more of...
they were lifelong commitments.
And some of that is you didn't have a lot of options, maybe.
Sure.
But my point is that nowadays we have so many options, and I'm not one of those people like to switch phone carriers, but I know people who do that. It's like, whoever gives me the best deal this month, I'm going with them, and I'm switching to them, and I'm switching to them. And it's like, with just all kind of the even jobs. They say, I think the average person switches jobs. I think it's something like every 3 to 5 years or something like that. And then there was a study done that I was reading that the average person will have 3 careers, not jobs, careers in their lifetime nowadays. Yeah, you're a great example of that. And nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, I think it's freeing to be able to say, I'm a banker, now I want to be a teacher, now I want to be a counselor. I mean, I think that's great. But what I'm saying is nowadays we don't have that stick to one thing. Right. And I think that has bled over into marriage. We don't, when we make these commitments to each other, it's like, I remember growing up, and I'm kind of getting, I apologize.
No, you're good.
Let me just get this out.
Get it out.
Woosah. Okay. No, but I remember growing up where divorce was like a very taboo thing. And, people didn't talk about it. And if you got a divorce, it was like, ooh, nowadays, and not that this, if you've gotten a divorce, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying nowadays it's like a very common thing. And I'm saying all that to say in our Western culture, right? I'm saying that all that to say is that I think we've lost the ability as a society to commit and stay faithful, to whatever, especially in marriage. Yeah. And understand when we take vows, and that's why when we marry couples, we put that in. I know a lot of people don't put the for better, for worse, sickness and health and all that. We put it in there because we want you to understand what you're saying is that a covenant or a vow is, it doesn't matter what it doesn't depend on the other person. It's me. This is my commitment to you. If you're sick, in health, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be here. And we're going to go ahead.
I was going to say, it's not only my commitment to you, but it's also my commitment to God.
Exactly.
That I keep my commitment to you, and I'm honoring the Father in the process. And I think that is a lot of the issues in marriages today, because God is just left on the outside.
Yeah, definitely.
We cry out for God and we want God to move on our behalf when it's all haywire.
Yeah.
But when we are making the decision to enter into this relationship, this union, this covenant with this person, sometimes we don't include God in the decision making at the forefront.
Yeah, this is true.
Which is why we have a lot of things transpiring in the marriage that are tumultuous, and then we want to say, "Oh Lord, help fix this."
Yeah.
Not to say that He won't do it. Point being is that this commitment is not just between Glenn and Tanya, but it's Glenn, Tanya, and the Father.
Yeah.
And so we have to remember that part, that vow that we've made to one another. There wasn't just two, but there were three.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that again. I am not
kind of preachy, huh?
Yeah.
I'm
Hey, man,
sorry.
sister, it's all good. Do your thing. Be you. Do you, boo boo.
That's the boo boo. No.
But we understand that divorce is always an option.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, it is what it is, right? But my point is, I think that we don't not everyone, but a lot of people just don't understand the power of commitment.
Yeah.
And the stick-to-itness. That is required. And even with we celebrating love today. Mm-hmm. Even with that, do you understand what it means when you say I love someone? Mm-hmm. If you really understood the biblical definition of love, according to 1 Corinthians 13, that love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't seek its own way, its own right. It's long suffering, meaning it's enduring, all these things. And so I think if when we get a better understanding of that, it's going to change the way, and how loosely we use the word love.
Yes.
I love you, all this Valentines stuff. Now, again, not saying anything wrong with that, but I'm just trying to get you to switch your focus and understand what you're saying when you tell someone I love you. And like I said, it's great to say that and give them the cards and all that stuff, but if your actions are not going to line up with that, then this is for me. I'm like, keep your card.
Right. Keep your card.
Keep your heart, all that stuff, right?
Chocolate.
Because, if love gives of oneself. So if you're not willing to give of yourself and sacrifice for me, then do you love me? If you always got to get your way, do you really love me? So when you're giving all these gifts and you're doing what you're saying is you're giving these roses saying, hey, this is me sacrificing for you, right? So I think, when we're talking about how you're keeping your vow, just understanding what that means when you take vows before, like Tanya said, before God and the witnesses or whoever's attending your wedding or ceremony, whatever you want to call it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
vow.
good. That's really good.
Yeah,
the vow.
I'm committed.
Important. Yeah.
And it starts there. I think a lot of times if you could just commit just say, I'm not going to, I'm going to just do it. No matter what, I'm going to do it. Whatever it takes, I'm going to commit.
Yeah.
That's what it means to
keep your vow. I think in this Western way of thinking, worldly way of thinking, I don't know what you want to call it. People make a commitment while at the same time they're keeping their eye on the back door. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I'm committed to you. I'm committed to this. But if something happens, I can see my way out. It's like, for people who don't like to sit with their backs toward a door just in case something happens. Yeah. You have people that enter relationships and they enter marriages with that kind of thought, plan that, okay, yeah, I really want to be with this person and I feel like I'm quote unquote in love with this person. And so I'm going to make a commitment to this person. But if he don't do this or if this happens, I can see my way out.
There are no outs.
Exactly. There's no outs in marriage.
So I know I kind of pulled us away from.
No, I think that's so good. I think we have to keep people, keep ourselves reminded and share with our audience, those things that sometimes are blind spots to people in relationships. But I'll just kind of share the 3 tips that we posted earlier in the week. And the first one is being intentional about meeting your spouse's needs first or before your own. Mm-hmm. So how do I do that? And I'm just going to use a really simple, practical example. So right now I'm on a eating plan. I'm working on losing some weight. And so that means that I'm eating differently, a lot differently from the way that Glenn is eating or the girls are eating. But although I'm doing that for myself, and it is a sacrifice that we're making, as a family, I still have to remember that, hey, typically they're used to you getting up and cooking breakfast, or if you get up in the morning and you cook yourself, eggs and grits and bacon and all this, you're not just cooking it for you, you're cooking it, for Glenn, or, if the girls are home, for them also. So I have to remember intentionally, that although I may choose not to have eggs today, I'm going to get up and offer that to my spouse, and so, I can make my little shake, have my little bar and keep it a moving. But hey, well, what's your husband going to eat for breakfast this morning? Not that you can't feed yourself, but just the culture of care that I have as a wife, I enjoy doing those kinds of things. And so I have to remind myself, just because you're doing something different for you doesn't mean that you don't continue to serve your husband the way that you've been serving him. Yeah. And so that's a conscious effort that I have to, to make or I want to make, as a wife. And I don't get it right 100% of the time, but I put in some effort.
Yeah. I mean, you do a great job, but I'll add to that in that, in order to meet your spouse's need before yourself. So, as the need meter, if that makes sense.
That was good. I liked it.
The meatee, sometimes they, this goes both ways, but I'm just using, this is just an example. If I'm saying I want to meet or we're saying, okay, you got to put your spouse's needs before your own. So Tanya can say, well, you should be putting my needs before yours. But I think the problem a lot of people struggle with is they don't know what their spouse needs. And they'll never know what their spouse needs until their spouse tells them, so I'm really big about, a lot of times, we expect our spouses to know, these things. Well, they should know, we work with couples all the time and they're like, well, they should know this. That should be automatic. Who says that, you can't live in this fairy tale world to think that, I know all of your needs, wants, and desires, and how you want to be loved, and what are your, what your needs. If you never tell, I told one lady, I said, look, even God says, make your requests made known. So if God, the creator of the universe, is asking us
to open your mouth
to make our requests known, well then how much more, right?
Right.
So that's one key. In order for you to get your needs met, you have to let your spouse know what you need or what you like, what you desire. And then they know, okay, now I need to do that. I need to make sure she's doing that. And if we're both doing that both ways, if we're both expressing what we need and then putting the other's needs before ours, I mean,
right. Everyone's needs are going to be
everybody's needs
met.
are being met.
Yeah. And you don't feel like, well, I'm always doing this for him, but he never thinks about doing things for me. And I hear that often too, where people will say, well, I'm always doing this for him, but he never offers to do it for me. Well, that may be your love language. That may not be his love language. Like when I said that it's my way of showing care to my family to get up and cook breakfast. Well, you may be like, well, I don't need you to cook me breakfast. I can eat a bowl of cereal. And I know this is true.
And that's true for me. So it's like so really, Well, really, so
I
that's
know.
really not
I
meeting
took us here.
my need.
Right. It's
that's
meeting
meeting
my
her
need.
need.
Right. Yes.
But that's a great example because so many times in relationships we do that.
Right.
Is we try to love people the way we want to be loved, not the
Right.
way they need to be
Right.
loved.
Right.
You got what I'm saying? So yeah, and children, this is like the other day, she was. I can't remember if it was you or Bethany. They were like, what do you want to eat? And I was like, I don't care. I eat whatever y'all tell me.
Yeah.
That's how I operate. I'm not real when it comes to food.
Yeah,
I'm not
eat the
really
same meal 5
picky.
days in a row.
Yeah, I'm not real picky about that. So my point is that's really good putting your spouse's needs before yours. But I have a responsibility
to communicate
those needs
right.
and to let people know when they're not meeting. And I'm not saying it to be mean or ugly, or I'm just saying, hey, I need you to do this, or I go ahead.
Go ahead. No, keep talking. Finish your sentence.
That's it.
But I tapped you because you triggered a thought. So when I'm communicating my needs to my spouse, there is a way to communicate those needs. Okay. I think oftentimes people struggle with the way that they say things because they're upset that their needs are not being met. So when they come to communicate needs to their spouse, then they're doing it in an aggressive kind of tone and all of this.
Or accusatory tone. Is that a word? Accusatory?
Or being yeah, I think so. We'll look it up afterwards, but I think I think you're good. But this is why we have to have those check-ins. This is why we have to have, and that's like my third bullet here is be intentional about connecting daily.
Yeah.
So when you connect with your spouse daily, those are opportunities to have little chats, and you're letting them know, hey, sometimes those connections can be really small, little 5 minutes on the sofa after work, just kind of, hey, how was your day kind of thing. And, and then we're off doing whatever we need to do for the rest of the evening. But sometimes those connections or those touch points are longer conversations about, I know when we first got married, we would always do this, or you would do this for me and it really wasn't a big deal. Or maybe you went and you were with your friends, or you were busy doing other things and it never really bothered me. But now it bothers me. I'm not angry with you about it. I'm not upset with you about it, but I'm just letting you know I would like to have more of your time. So it's how you're communicating it.
So, you never want to, when you're communicating that, you want to, there's a term for this, but it's like you want to use I statements. Right? You never want to say, because typically people will say something like, you never.
Right.
When that's probably not true.
Not true, yeah.
I can say they never.
Right.
But you could say something like, I need you to.
Right.
Or, so you always want to make it like, this is my thing.
I'm taking responsibility for
I'm
my
not saying
need.
you never wash the dishes.
Right. Well, that's not true. I watched them last Tuesday.
I need you to help me more, or I need more help in the kitchen. Is that something you can help me with? So just another way of putting it,
right, to
where it's putting it back on you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah, that's really good. So, and the other one was to be intentional about doing acts of kindness for your spouse. And I think that's something that people sometimes, it's like we feel like we're doing something nice for our spouse when we go and buy them something. If we're spending money or, but that's not typically necessarily an act of kindness. An act of kindness can be before your spouse gets out of the bed in the morning, their first go-to is to the coffee pot or to the Keurig, and so you're up earlier, just go and fix them a cup of coffee and set it next to the bed. That is an act of kindness. Husband, you have to make one of those last minute runs to Walmart while she's cooking, i.e. you sometimes, huh? When you leave, take her car and fill it up. You know, small acts of kindness.
Yeah.
They're small, but they're huge, you know, and that builds that connection, that builds that security. It reaffirms the love that we say that we have for our spouse.
And I think that changes, you know, as the the relationship changes, you know, like, you know, early on in marriage, you may say, well, no, I want him to buy me something, you know, I don't spend, you know.
Right.
But there's this video, I don't have to post this video again, but there's this video I posted a while back, and it's this couple, you know, she comes home and, you know, the husband's on the sofa, like playing a video game or something. And she's like, okay, I'm about to cook dinner. And he's like, already done. And she's like, whew, you know, like she's like, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna clean the floors. Did it earlier. And she's like, oh my God, you know.
He said something about putting the kids down. Putting
the kids down, getting them like done. And she's like, whew. So she like, you know, grabs him and pulls him to the bedroom, you know. So I was like, hey, you know, so. It's
like, brother, you just made space for all kind of fun.
Right, but I'm just saying, you know, so for her, that's sexy.
Right.
You know,
right.
You know, so a lot of people may look at that and be like, oh, you know, that's, you know, I want to be romantic and, you know, bring you home chocolates and all that's cool and all. But for your wife, or, you know, like I know for Tanya, like the thing she mentioned about the gas, I know she doesn't like to pump gas. So when I do that I'm not gonna say it's equivalent to chocolates, but you know what I'm saying. But it still goes back to letting me know,
right?
You know, because I mean, if I'm doing things that you don't, I'm being, you know, I know you said that's just a random act of kindness, but still, if I'm doing things and it's just not like, I mean, that don't really do it for me. So just saying these are the things that do.
Right.
You know, but you're right though. Just sometimes it's just, you know, and it's not, it's, I think what really makes those work is when you just do them just to do them.
Exactly.
Not, you know, expecting anything back or doing
That's
it to
a random act of kindness. You're not wanting anything back, you know?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Just doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's it.
You good?
You be quiet.
Why are you being quiet?
No, I'm just playing. Because I guess I just restated what you said in a different kind of way.
And that's good. Somebody needed to hear it differently.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, repetition is good. Hey, that's good teaching. So pretty much that was it.
That was number 2. What was number 3?
We did that. I skipped.
Oh, you skipped ahead.
Right.
But say it again.
I'll give you the 3 tips. Tips. It's
and tricks.
Tips and tricks. Okay, so again, just kind of reiterating the point of today's episode. It's very important to show your spouse that you're still committed to the vows that you made at the altar. Here are 3 tips to do that. 1, be intentional about putting one another's needs first. 2, be intentional about doing acts of kindness for your spouse. And 3, be intentional about connecting daily. Be intentional about connecting daily. That's what keeps the communication flowing. That's what keeps the vulnerability open. That's what keeps the fire burning. All of those great things when we're being intentional about how we are doing life with our spouse.
Yeah. And don't, you know, when it comes to connecting, I just want to say this too. Don't, again, and I know I'm kind of harping on this tonight or today or right now when you're listening to this or watching this, but don't just, a lot of times when people say connection, it's like these big, grand, you know, I looked into her eyes and the skies parted and the birds flew away and those are great, but connecting daily, being intentional, that could be as simple as sitting down and talking about whatever, you know, or watching a movie together, or just laying next to each other in bed and, you know, just being there together, you know. So don't just think of connecting as you have to gaze into each other's eyes intentionally for 20 minutes or whatever. So, and that's the way you keep it. That's why you do it daily, and being intentional about that,
Right.
And making sure and letting each other know. I know Tanya, she tells me all the time, you didn't kiss your wife today. And I'm like, oh, my bad. It's not that I didn't mean to kiss you. It's just, I'm just working and doing. And
Right.
so I have to, so she, that's her being intentional, So,
Absolutely.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that about,
that's good. That's
about
very
connecting.
good. So, guys, we wish each and every one of you a very happy Valentine's Day. We hope that today is not the only day that you are celebrating your love for your spouse, but you take time and you take opportunity to do so on a daily basis and connect with one another on a daily basis. And if you are watching this show and you do not have a person in your life to be your Valentine, then I am sending you just a happy Valentine. And I want to offer you an opportunity to maybe not scroll so much on social media, seeing all of what everybody else is doing for Valentine's Day, but have a celebration of love for yourself. Do something special for yourself because you deserve it, and enjoy that time. Did I trigger something else?
No,
for you?
I was about to be silly, but I'm not.
Okay.
But
okay.
I was going to say, because, it's hard to love somebody else if you don't love yourself.
That's so true.
Jesus said it. He said, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston said, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Amen. Yes. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Bless his name.
Every time you mention Whitney Houston, my little heart goes. But anyhow, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone. We're sending our love out to you and your loved ones. And we are reminding you that.
Before you do that, though.
Yes, sir. See, I'm moving too fast.
I was just going to remind everybody that you can listen to the podcast now on Apple Podcasts and Google Play.
Yes, you can.
And if you do that, please leave us a review.
Leave a review.
5 stars. If you're not going to leave 5 stars, don't leave one at all. No, I'm just playing.
Leave a review. We want true, honest feedback.
Yeah.
And that is something that we do need to get more of. We would love to get more feedback from you guys.
Absolutely. So now,
yes,
this is Glenn
and Tanya
Coleman reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye.